Hi, my name is Dr. Jonathan Golding. I'm a professor in the Department of Psychology at the University of Kentucky. And I've been teaching for almost 30 years, like 29 years. And during all those years, I teach large classes. I think about a large class is typically over 100, and I teach classes that go up to 500. And what I want to talk to you today is to talk about how I use social media to create basically a sense of community in the classroom. And this is something you might consider. It might not be what you want to do, but I want to at least tell you how it's worked for me in a very big way. First of all, I think we all know what social media is, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is. The idea of social media is the idea of having and allowing for connections and collaboration among individuals by allowing users to communicate and share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content, and especially pictures. You know that photos are a big thing now. So it's a way to get people to communicate together. Now, Facebook is the largest of and most widely used social media applications. It has over 1 billion users. And although you hear things that people aren't using Facebook as much, that may be true, but most people are pretty familiar. Even younger students who like their other applications, most of them still have a Facebook application. And I'll be sticking with Facebook because you'll hear that's the one that I used in my class. Now, as far as using Facebook in class, I was a resistor. I didn't want to do it. I thought, oh goodness, I'm too old, and the idea of social media and getting on my phone, my computer, it wasn't something for me. I resisted for a while, even though there were people who were telling me that they were using Facebook and Twitter in class. So I did some reading. I listened to others talk more about the benefits, and I decided that maybe it's something worth considering. I should also say that I reached a certain point in my teaching with large classes that I was a little concerned about, is that although I felt I could reach my students and we could interact, I didn't feel that we had continued to develop sort of a more positive sense of community where the class was united together, not just in how they communicated with me, but how they communicated with each other. And I thought that the use of social media was a better way to connect both me with my students, but my students with each other, and of course with me. And so Facebook seemed a perfect solution to this, so this is why I went in this direction. Now, before I talk about what I do, I want to address the naysayers in one sense. I want to say, there's some of you who may say, devoting time to social media isn't worth it. You should be devoting time to the students who really deserve it. Now, my view about that, especially with a large class, is that you have to think about the entire group. So I wanted to come up with something and use a technology that would allow me to communicate with everyone in my class. The other thing is some people say, you're just catering to the students by using Facebook. You're almost putting on a show for them. And I just say this is ridiculous. If you have a technology that allows you to move forward and how you deal with your class and potentially can aid in the way they learn material, this is a great use of technology. So look, I can't tell everybody to use it, just as all I can say is I think you should try and keep an open mind about it. And it may not be for you, but you might want to try it. It might energize you and get you to think about teaching your large classes in a very different way. So here's what I did. I got a Facebook group. They're called Facebook groups for my class, my large class. I made joining a Facebook group, it wasn't required because there's issues that you have to keep in mind. Not everybody wants to be in a Facebook group or use Facebook, and privacy issues. So I did not make it required. And also it wasn't meant, because it wasn't required, that I put specific content that then I was going to test about. It was there to be a conduit for people to express themselves about issues related to class and even to the university. And also I should say I didn't display any of my personal information. It wasn't meant for that. It was really just about class. So that what we did is that we then looked at, we were able to find what was the behavior of students as far as the use of the group. So that students, remember, they could post, they could comment. Myself and my teaching assistants, we administered the site so that a student would ask to become a member. We would allow them to be a member. Once they were a member, they were free to post and comment just like myself and my TAs. So here's some of the things that we found and why I'm really so positive about the use of it. First of all, though it was not required, 92% of the class joined the Facebook group, much higher than we thought. So people were willing to get on and become part of the group. Again, a way that the group or the class forged this sense of community. The other thing is we were finding that there were about 48, almost 50 posts a week. So people were posting. There were about 140 comments per week. So there was a lot of activity. It wasn't like we had this group up there on Facebook and nobody was using it. People were using it. Other things that we found, and this was one of maybe the most surprising things. Even when I started, I thought I would be the one who was posting and commenting as well as my TAs. That was not the case. 92% of all the posts were made by students. 83% of all the comments were made by students. So I was involved, my teaching assistants were involved, but really this Facebook group was run by the students. They were the ones that were the driving force behind it. And also I should state is that more than half the students, the majority of the class, had posted or had commented at some point during the semester. Other things we found is that the nature of the posts and comments really varied a lot. You would get some students, for example, who might have missed class for various reasons, and they would ask for notes. Well, this was great because it kept me out of the loop. They could ask their classmates and get the notes that way. Also, they would ask for clarification of topics discussed in class. I was more than happy to give that clarification, but here's the great thing. A lot of times, other students would be the ones who would give the clarification for class notes and the issues that came up during class. Additional information was presented about class. For example, I might talk about eyewitness testimony in the context of memory, and students would present URLs for videos that talked about cases where there were false convictions. It was fantastic to see these posted on an almost daily basis. Students would arrange study groups through Facebook. They would they would post or comment about things that might be going on campus. Now somebody could say, oh, that's making it too broad. No, because to me, it again enhances this sense of community and lets students see, yeah, it's not just you're part of the class, you're part of the university as a whole. So all of these things were going on. It was great. I was amazed, surprised, pleasantly surprised by the range of posts and comments that were put on. I should also state maybe 2 or 3 things my TAs and I had to delete because they really weren't appropriate to what the goals of the Facebook group what the goals were, sorry. The other thing I'll tell you, we had a survey we did because we wanted to see people's opinions about the use of the Facebook group. Most students on a 10-point scale was about 8.3. The rating of how much they liked the Facebook group. Most students, it was even higher. I remember it was about 8.7, felt that it made the class seem more personable, and that also very high, I think it was close to 8, they got information that they could not get in class. So on all these ratings, students really were very positive about the use of the group. Now, the other thing then I would say, or maybe just in closing I would say, is that I hope you'll consider using a Facebook group because clearly social media can serve a positive function in the college classroom, help with getting students in this large class environment to not see themselves as just this isolated student sitting in this large class, but sees themselves as more a piece of the class, a part of the whole. And it's really difficult to do that in a large class, those of you who teach large classes. So I think you should consider it. It really helped forge this sense of community. It's something, once I did it, I think I started about, I don't know, 6 years ago. I still use it. I'm still getting excellent results. So I hope you'll consider it. You may find yourself pleasantly surprised, as I was, and how much you'll have a positive feeling about the use of technology in a large classroom. Thanks a lot. Take care.